Alright, hello again, this is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over the online PDF textbook, AppInventor2, Create Your Own Android Apps, by Wolber, Abelson, Spertus, and Looney. We're well into Chapter 8, which is our President's Quiz, and we've got it where our questions are rotating on through, and we get to the last question, ideally at least, it's going and it's showing us all 4 questions. In fact, I did not check that, so I'll do that right now. Okay, so I'm going to connect, reset connection. Go back, I like to run this from the designer, although it really doesn't matter. Connect to the emulator. What I'm trying to see right now is if I'm getting the 4th question to actually show. What we did at the end of the last lecture is we changed, so rather than using a constant value, like 3 for the number of questions, we're using the number of elements that are actually in the list, which is a much better, cleaner, and actually more natural way of doing it. Alright, so we're going to check this out, and when we get done, we're going to talk about how to switch the image for each question, so we're going to do that. Alright. And then we're going to have to go back and update our next button accordingly. And then we'll be able to check the answers. So again, we're making headway here. All right, it might be 2 or 3 more of these mini little lectures that I have to do, but that's fine. Again, when we get to Chapter 10, we are going to be Chapter 10. Let me see if I grab the book here. Chapter 10 is entitled Make Quiz and Take Quiz. And what we're going to end up doing in that chapter is we're going to be writing a more generic type of quiz. All right? Well, that isn't good. Again, the working with the emulator can get frustrating, for lack of better words, because it has a tendency to be quirky for a lot of different reasons. I've used it already for several hours and not had a problem. I've gone back the next day with the same configuration and had a lot of problems. So if there's a rhyme or reason to it, I'm not exactly sure what it is. While we're waiting for this, let's take a look and see what's here. It says, now that you've programmed all the behaviors for moving through the questions, your next task is to make sure that the images work properly too. In other words, we want to sync so the image is lined up with the current question. Right now the app shows the same image no matter what question is being asked. We'll change this so that when you click the next button, it'll go to image 2, the next image 3, the next image 4, the next back to image 1, etc. Alright, it says we'll modify the next button.click event to switch the picture each time, just as we switch the question text. Alright, first we'll create a picture list and initialize it with the name of the image files. It says be sure the names are exactly the same as the file names you loaded into the media section for the project. Since I didn't change them, this is exactly what we're going to have. Then we'll come in and we'll modify the next button to add these at the bottom. All right, but we're going to do that in just a minute. So let's go back and see if we go back here, if Okay, so we're getting the same thing with the forced close. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and I'm going to do the next part. I'm not going to be able to test this right now, unfortunately, because I'm going to have to reboot the machine again. So I'm just going to say okay here, and when this comes up, I'm going to tell it, I'll just tell it to wait. It doesn't really matter. All right, so we want to come in here, we want to create a new global picture list, and we want it to make a list, and it's going to have these 4 images in it. All right, so we'll need a new variable. Might as well take this and collapse it. We're going to bring it back out again in just a couple minutes. All right. But we want to go back to lists. No, we don't want to go back to lists. I'm sorry. We want to go back to variables. And I think, what do we call this? Picture list. All right. And now we want lists. And we want to, in lists, we want to use make a list, and we'll want 4 of them. So there's 2 of them. Let's add a 3rd, and then let's add a 4th. All right. And what we want to put in here are those names. Now there might be a very fast way of doing this. If there is, I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to come in here and put in ruse church.gif Carter China.gif Nixon.gif and atomic.gif. All right, so that's how we're going to fill these up. So we want to put in a blank text. Want comments. Darn it. It's not allowing us to undo here. Tell you what, I'm going to just grab that, bring it down here. Remove comment, that's what we want. Remove comment. Okay, so there's 2. Duplicate, there's 3. Duplicate, and there's all 4. All right, so there's the first one. Ruse Church. The second one, Carter China. The third one, which is Nixon. And the 4th one, which will be atomic. All right. So we've initialized that picture list. Next, we have to come in and modify the next button click event handler so it changes the picture. All right, so remember that right now it is changing the question, but it's giving the same picture, the same image is up all the time. We want to change that. We want to use the image property, as it says, be used to change the picture displayed. So we want to modify the click event, all right, to set the image 1 picture to the current picture that's in our list. So as mentioned here, the current question index serves as the index for both the question list and the picture list. As long as you set up your lists properly such that the first question responds to the first picture, in other words, if they're running parallel to one another, all right, the single index can serve both lists, as will be shown in just a minute. All right, so we want to do this. So let's take a screenshot of that. Let's paste that in here. Lift that up, just give it a little bit more room. There we go. All right, now I want to go into my next button. So this can be collapsed. Go back to the next button. Expand, oops, I don't know what I did there. Expand that block. What did I do? There we go, I disabled it. So we want to do that. So when next button clicks, set that, go to that +1. If that's okay, set, that's okay. We want to do another set in here. All right, so that's what we want to do in here right now. And that's the image1.picture. All right, and we want to set that to another select item list. All right, and we want these to be get global picture lists, so that's wrong. No, that's right. And get global, okay, that's good. Again, these are very easy to test. Again, I'm having problems with the emulator right now, but once I reboot, which I'll do in just a couple minutes, but once we reboot, we should both be able to work our way through and get all 4 questions and have all 4 images come up. All right, let's see where we are. We may finish this one a little bit early here. All right, so we're supposed to test this. Click next a few times. Does a different image appear when you click the button? And for our sake, also, will it turn out that every single time that we get to the end, that it cycles back to the beginning again? Let's do that, and then we'll come back in here and we'll get into checking the user's answers. So I'll be back with you again shortly.